Well, we still got a few clouds lingering across Michiana this afternoon. I'm ABC 57 Chief Meteorologist Jamie Martin. It looks like the skies will clear tonight. That could lead to a little bit of patchy fog. We'll check out the timing with Forecast Track coming up in just a moment. ABC 57 News at 5 starts now.
Covering South Bend, Elkhart, and all of Michiana, this is ABC 57 News at 5.
This march and that speech changed America.
Tonight on ABC 57 News at 5, I have a dream. The rain and the heat couldn't keep thousands from celebrating a landmark moment in our history.
A Cache County man on trial for murder today. We learned just how brutal those killings were. Plus,
every one of you is a Hoosier hero.
An emotional chapter this afternoon in the story of what many have called a miracle. Little Nathan Weisner reunited with the heroes who rescued him from the sand on Mount Baldy. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kim Chappell.
And I'm Brian Dorman. The 6-year-old boy was trapped 11 feet underground for nearly 4 hours. ABC 57's Daryl Bajoris was there the night of the rescue and back out there today for that reunion in Michigan City. And Daryl, the governor, was also there. What did he have to say?
Well, Brian, at an awards ceremony earlier this afternoon, Indiana Governor Mike Pence thanked all the first responders. Without their quick response and a little bit of luck, this whole story could have ended much differently. City Hall was standing room only today, as hundreds packed in to thank first responders. In July, these brave men and women helped rescue 6-year-old Nathan Weisner after he fell into a hole on Mount Baldy. Little Nathan was buried alive for nearly 4 hours before crews managed to pull him out. This afternoon, the boy met face-to-face with his rescuers and Indiana Governor Mike Pence.
Let me say from my heart, on behalf of all the people of our state, every one of you is a Hoosier hero.
Pence went on to thank emergency crews not only for July's rescue, but their commitment to public service every day thereafter. Without their heroic efforts, the Weisner family could have suffered tragedy instead of triumph.
This was everyone's miracle.
A miracle memorialized now with the plaque. All 140 firemen, police, and park rangers have their names etched into it.
Nathan Moreno.
And they were congratulated in person by Michigan City Mayor Ron Muir, the governor, and even Nathan himself, who they'll always remember as someone who
went into the heart of darkness and found the will to survive. This is a special family. This is a special young man. And I know the future beckons.
Now, Nathan managed to recover just in time for the start of his first grade year. With the exception of a few minor scars, he's alive and well. Reporting live in Michigan City, Daryl Bajoris, ABC 57 News.
So great to see him doing well tonight. Well, Mount Baldy does remain closed as the EPA looks for more holes there. Investigators were back out at the dune today. Right now, they're doing basic tests so they can cover the entire dune. Now, if they find something out of the ordinary, a National Park spokesman says they'll bring back that radar equipment. So far, officials know of 2 additional holes on Mount Baldy.
Chief, some clouds today, but that is not stopping the heat or the humidity.
No, it looks like it's back once again. We do have a little bit of clouds, as you mentioned, but those will be clearing out, and eventually we're going to pick up the chance of a little bit of patchy fog during the overnight hours. But for now, we are nice and quiet. ABC 57 first warning Doppler radar. Rain-free. It's just a couple of clouds hanging out across the area right now. Benton Harbor reporting 76 degrees right now. We're talking about pretty cool conditions with the wind coming in off the lake, but a little bit warmer once you get into the inland areas. And right now you can see with Forecast Track, we're looking pretty good. Just a little bit of patchy fog possible as we begin to head our way out and about later on. Probably a little bit after midnight is when we'll really start picking things up across that area. So overall, it looks like we should be looking pretty good through most of the nighttime hours. By the time we get into tomorrow, we are looking at some sunshine returning once again. That means warm conditions. In fact, we're going to see temperatures near 90 as we head in towards the big holiday weekend before a nice cool down arrives next week. We'll have all the details with your exclusive 10-day forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Kim?
Emotional testimony today in the Keith Lentz murder trial.
Did you know who they were?
No.
They call you a name.
They called me a snitch.
28-year-old Keith Lentz is accused of brutally killing a Niles couple, John and Carolyn Tarwacki, 3 years ago inside their Carberry Road home. The trial is expected to last 2 weeks. ABC 57's Jason Aubrey spent the day in the courtroom. He joins us live tonight from Cache County. And Jason, I understand it was a difficult day for the jury today.
It was, Kim. The jury was hit right off the bat with some very disturbing images. The state called a forensic pathologist to the stand to walk the jury through what could have happened to John and Carolyn Tarwacki the night they were murdered. It was a nightmare of pain and death for an unsuspecting couple. Prosecutor Doug Baker hypothesized that Keith Lintz shot John Tarwacki in the face at close range, then in the chest, before turning the gun on Carolyn Tarwacki, shooting her twice, once in the arm and then in her back. Baker then described how Carolyn was then beaten in the head and face before being stabbed 5 times in the chest. The knife was then turned on her husband, who was stabbed 10 times in the back.
The findings identified at autopsy, there would be no inconsistencies with that scenario. That's correct.
Dr. Stark was shown what prosecutors believe is the murder weapon.
It's a kitchen-style knife, a relatively large kitchen-style knife with a single-edged blade.
Is that consistent with the weapon that would have been used on John Tarwacki?
It is, yes.
It was a brutal double murder that police say took place over hours that night.
Can you form a medical opinion of whether he was alive at the time those stab wounds were being inflicted?
Yes, he was alive at the time the stab wounds occurred.
Following Dr. Stark's testimony, Patricia Wilds took the stand. She claims Keith Lynch showed up at her home in the middle of the night, freaking out.
He just kept saying they were going to get him, they were going to catch him, and he should have wiped the footprints. He just kept repeating it.
Then she testified he said something else.
What did he say?
That you don't bring a knife to a gunfight.
Now, the judge ruled today that the media could not show Patricia Wilds while she was testifying. Apparently, she was assaulted after the last time she testified in this case and had all of her front teeth knocked out. Also, today, the Michigan State Police Sergeant who documented the murder scene walked the jury through the evidence he found, including footprints and blood in the snow. I'll have that story coming up tonight at 6 o'clock. Reporting live from Cass County, Michigan, Jason Aubrey, ABC 57 News.
Very difficult details there in the courtroom today, Jason. Thanks. One attempted abduction has a Granger neighborhood and elementary school on edge here tonight. Police say that a 6-year-old girl was playing in her backyard when a stranger approached her, touched her on the head, and then asked the girl to come with her.
ABC 57's Jillian Mahan has been working this story for us all day today. She is live at the St. Joseph County Jail. Jillian, what have you learned for us tonight?
Well, much of this story actually developed on social media last night when the girl's parents were posting more information on the site than police had originally documented. Now, today we talked with police and they say that they're trying to encourage parents all over Michiana to talk with their kids about strangers and this incident. Now, police say the young girl was playing in her backyard along Anderson Road in Granger when she was approached by a woman in an unmarked white work van. The woman reportedly asked the girl to come with her and then touched the girl's head. The girl immediately ran inside and told her parents. Police are investigating the case and have swept the neighborhood for the van and suspect, but they say this is a good reminder for parents to talk with their kids about the danger of strangers.
You don't go up to strangers. If it's someone that you don't know, the safest thing to do is go home to a parent, go to the residence of a trusted neighbor. If you're in an urban area where there's a police station or a fire station, those are safe places to go. All that information, all those tips are still the same, and they're all still good information.
Now, coming up for you all new at 6, hear what neighbors say about this event, and also are attempts like this becoming more common now that school's back in session? We'll have an answer for you from police coming up at 6. Reporting live from South Bend, Jillian Mahan, ABC 57 News.
And we are learning more tonight about a deadly home explosion in Indianapolis. The Indiana Department of Public Safety just released a 69-page review of the local response. The November 2012 blast killed 2 people and damaged 125 homes in the Richmond Hills subdivision. According to the ABC station in Indianapolis, WRTV, workers got high marks for their initial response, but DPS needs to communicate better with outside agencies.
The third teenager accused of setting fire to the Old Goshen Inn was expected to plead guilty today. The August 12th fire caused about $150,000 in damage. According to our reporting partner, Michiana News Channel, the first teen took a plea deal Monday. The second teen pleaded guilty yesterday. Each teenager faced criminal mischief charges.
Investigators say a fire at a South Bend tile company was electrical. The fire at Miles Tile off of Foundation Drive started around 9 in the back of the building. Workers told us the lights had been flickering for the past few days, and they called the power company to come take a look, but AEP never showed up.
A construction crew hit a gas line this morning downtown South Bend. The fire department rushed here to the corner of Taylor and LaSalle. Crews evacuated that area while they capped the leak. Everyone was allowed back into their homes just before 11.
Well, students at Rochester schools weren't allowed to drink out of the water fountains today. It was bottled water only. We first told you about the boil order there last night on ABC 57 News. The city found bacteria in the water, so Rochester residents were told to either drink bottled water or boil it. Today, schools put garbage bags over the water fountains. The city expects to have water samples back tomorrow.
50 years ago, hundreds of thousands marched on Washington for equality and freedom in the middle of the civil rights movement.
And today, thousands flocked to the same spot to celebrate some remarkable progress and reflect on a historic moment. ABC's Tamon Bradley is there.
Rain, heat, and humidity did not deter thousands who came to the Lincoln Memorial to celebrate a landmark moment in our history. The country's first black president speaking from the same spot where Dr. Martin Luther King delivered his I Have a Dream speech. President Obama addressed both the progress in the last 50 years and the challenges that remain.
To secure the gains this country has made requires constant vigilance, not complacency.
A bell rang out at 3 p.m. to commemorate the moment in 1963 when Dr. King uttered this famous phrase,
"Let freedom ring."
Georgia Rep. John Lewis is the only surviving speaker from the 1963 march. The civil rights icon addressed the crowd again today.
We must never, ever give up. We must keep the faith and keep our eyes on the prize.
When Dr. King shared his dream in 1963, his children were toddlers. Today they spoke as guardians of his legacy. And while President John F. Kennedy watched the March on Washington on television, both his own daughter Caroline and his vice president's daughter were among today's speakers.
Now it's our turn to live up to our parents' dream.
In 1963, few political leaders attended the event, but today several members of Congress and both Presidents Carter and Clinton joined President Obama. And there were more than a few celebrity appearances. Oscar winners Jamie Foxx and Forrest Whitaker, along with Oprah Winfrey, and musical performances by B.B. Winans, Leanne Rimes, and Natalie Grant. The bell that rang here today on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial has special significance. It comes from the Birmingham, Alabama church where 4 young black girls were killed in a bombing 50 years ago. Tamon Bradley, ABC News, the Lincoln Memorial.
The 2014 Layton Award was handed out today in South Bend. It recognizes nonprofit excellence. Today's ceremony was at the Century Center. The Community Foundation says it's the biggest award in the county for a nonprofit at $100,000. The recipient this year is the Fishoff National Chamber Music Association.
You know, the organizations that they run the gamut of serving our community. So you have arts organizations that are celebrating and elevating the arts, and then you have the human services that are providing, you know, catering to the needs of the most marginalized and the most vulnerable in our community.
La Casa de Amistad and downtown South Bend also received special recognition.
Tonight, name-calling and election controversy in Detroit.
There's a conspiracy around every rock.
Why Michigan state officials are going through thousands of ballots by hand.
And right now things are pretty quiet across the area, but we're going to be heating things up over the next couple of days. The very latest numbers with Forecast Track coming up.
Plus, a big comeback for an endangered butterfly, where hundreds are about to be released and they're tied to Indiana.
Then all new at the bottom of the hour, 5:30, the dream lives on. A Benton Harbor man who marched in the Washington 50 years ago reflects on the fight for equality.